Hey guys, welcome to the Center Bounce. In today's video, we're going to go over the players that you guys should be considering to bring in to finish your teams for the rest of the season. The guys with the best run home and the players maybe that you haven't considered. Stay tuned. Joe, mate, we're doing something a little bit different today. We're getting a lot of requests on the stream and just people in general saying, hey guys, who has the best run home? Who are the players that I need to consider? What do I need to do with my team? I've got 2 or 3 or 5 or right at the moment for yourself, 8 trades to go. So 8 trades left really. And which players should I be considering for my team?
Yes, so a lot of people, myself included, very tight on trades, tight on money, looking to try and get the best possible bang for buck. We might not be able to get the uber premiums just by virtue of their playing style, for example, or their ability. However, where we can make that up is on their run home. If they can have favorable matchups from here on out, they might not have scored the best getting to this point, but if we can get their best scores later on in the season when things start to open up for them, then we can make some ground in other ways. And using our trusted friends over here at DFS Australia, it is an incredible website and tool for us to use. We are specifically looking at the AFL season-long defense versus position. And this is a really useful tool because what it ends up doing is it looks at every single team and its run gets split up into the various different positions, whether it be a designated kicker or a winger or an inside mid or a key forward, all of the positions, it splits them up into various categories and it gives them the different coloration depending on the complexity and difficulty of the matchup. Very similar to how we use DFS in order to get to see what the best captaincy options are moving forward. This one is telling us these are the good matchups. These are the great matchups. These are the okay. These are the good matchups. This is the neutral matchup. And then these ones are starting to get a little bit harder. So we've gone through each of the positions, gone through each of the teams, and we have generated, the list based on the relevant positions and the players that you want to finish your teams.
Yeah, 100%. Because as Joe says in the bit of the intro, it's not so much. Lockie Neal could have the best average ever. But if he's got a crap run of the next 10 or so games, it doesn't matter. Guys, these are what the tips, these are what we need to start looking at. Squadfather talks about it. We talk about it. All the other super coaches talk about it as well. Doesn't matter what the player has scored. Matters what the player scores in your team. Now, we might start off with key forwards, Joe, if you want to pull up the key forwards, and we can kind of explain, hey, this is what we're looking at so far.
Absolutely.
So key forwards generally are, sometimes we'll get defenders who are forward eligible in Supercoach or midfielders similar as well. But looking at the key forwards, these are our forward-only really selections. Your big boys, the ones that generally have super high ceilings. It's Carlton first, Joe. And that's a bit surprising for me. But looking at the average there, your Carlton key forwards, they have the best run home out of anyone. That's looking at Mackay and Curnow. And the beautiful thing is they got a week off this week, but next week they're cheap.
Exactly. And that's what I'm going to be looking at to sort of try and finalize my team moving forward. You don't really want to have key forwards in your team, but when you've got people like Mackay and Curnow, Coleman medalists, and Mackay even being able to pinch hit in the ruck as well, it really makes it a tough ask to not try and go ahead with these guys who can really try and, I suppose, be a really strong run for you all the way home, given that they've had a tougher start to the season. It can't be a tough season all the way through. They do have to start and ease up and have some easier matchups. They've got Richmond, who are under the pump. They've got the Bulldogs. They don't have any big key defenders. They've got North, struggle with the big key defenders. So you've got these pretty decent, favorable matchups on the run home. And for me, I'm going to be looking at targeting some of these guys as well. The Hawks are second. Not really sure how many Hawthorn key forwards you're going to have in your team that you want to really bring in.
No one's got
Same
a
thing with the
Gunston or
Gold
someone
Coast.
in their team.
Exactly.
No one's
Same
going to
thing
come
with the
to
Gold
that
Coast
one.
Suns.
Next up on the list is Geelong. Now, if I'm picking one of Mackay or Curnow, I'm probably pick Mackay just for the, dual ruck and whatnot. But, mate, if you don't want Carlton players, if you kind of like, hey, I don't like Carlton, they stink, they need more colours in their jersey, just blue's not enough, you can go Geelong. Sometimes it is people play for leagues or potentially, if you're going in draft, that kind of thing. We're obviously trying to advocate picking up the number one. They're obviously going to, most of the time, be pod picks, but Jezza Cameron and Hawkins coming in with number 4th on our list here. Pretty good run. No reds, which is what we're looking for versus some of the other teams. And, mate, they work out quite well.
Yeah, they do. Obviously, age is a factor, whether or not they can maintain it. Definitely much more bullish going with the Blue Boys. They got their run home is considerably easier in terms of the bonus that they're going to get, 2.2 as opposed to 0.78. So just the metrics, as well as the age, as well as the fact that we really think Carlton are going to be pushing really high up the ladder and really going to be shaking and really be, I suppose, a genuine premiership contender. It's hard to see Carlton doing that without Mackay and or Curnow, dominating and really playing to their usual best. So if you're looking for a key forward, it is going to be these guys as your best bets.
Now, the next two group of people are your general forwards. Maybe they're people who do a little bit of forward, but then play some midfield. We've definitely seen that with these two players that we're going to talk about now. But the guys that spend a majority of the time in the forward line, you don't want a key forward. Sometimes they get nullified by, your key defenders, that kind of thing. The two best ones that we can advocate bringing in on their run home is Dylan Moore from Hawthorn. I was going to say Darcy Moore. It's Dylan Moore from Hawthorn, and surprisingly, Harley Reid. If he stops getting suspended, there's a lot of people that might have this pod pick, and he's under 500K at the moment.
That's exactly right. The kid plays around in the inside mids whilst also going forward and hitting the scoreboard. He is a generational talent. One that you guys would obviously love to have in your team, but we're not going to talk about that. The Hawks, even Dylan Moore himself, he plays a lot around the ball and then pushes forward as well. So these two types of players, we don't really want key forwards and general forwards in our team. Our forward lines would much prefer to have mids and defenders, but Dylan Moore is an exception. Dylan Moore has got some great scores playing around the ball, as well as having a decent run already for general forwards on the run home. Same thing with Harley Reid. He is someone that you could potentially look to hold. Is his tank going to last the season? Well, you better damn hope he does, considering the long, nice break that he's had after that suspension. So
3 weeks
he should be
off,
able.
Mate.
Sorry?
3 weeks off.
I know, 3 weeks off. That should be plenty. He should be able to run out the season. I know it's his first season, but hey, nice little mini holiday midway through should see him be able to capitalize potentially on the third easiest trip on the run home. Same thing with the Hawks.
A big game
Second
around
easiest.
22 versus North Melbourne there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So those
who's
are
next up on our list?
The inside mids. These are the glorious inside mids. And if you have not gotten and not finished your midfield, you still have one spot left, for example, in your midfield that you really want to finish off.
Or if you want to get rid of, let's say, a Tom Green or an underperforming Cook Miller, or, you've got some spare sideways trades going on.
Yeah. Well, the best one, the inside mids that have the best run home, the Hawthorn Football Club. You have the best run home for inside mids. And we're talking about your John Newcombs and your Days. John Newcomb and Day are going to have a great run home. They've got Richmond this week, a bye next week, then followed by West Coast and Geelong. Their next 3 games are positively strong matchups. You love to see it if you got any of Newcomb or Day in your team, followed by North Melbourne. Not that far behind, 2.05 as opposed to 1.99. And that's the reason why I brought in LDU last week. Got a slightly tough matchup in Collingwood before it starts to open up a bit, but it's that last stretch of games in the run home that really makes it appealing.
And you actually get a week extra worth of scoring out of bringing in LDU versus a Day and a Newcomb. Yep. So that's definitely something to factor in there as well. A lot of people, maybe you've got a Took Miller this week and you're like, chuck some extra cash, grab an LDU there. He does play for North Melbourne, but if you can survive that, then you're laughing. One that has burnt a little bit of people is Sam Walsh, but according to our list, according to DFS Australia, you almost say DHS. I know what you're saying. He has the third best run home, Joe. Pretty surprising.
That's right. Obviously, we've got Chera to come back into the team. Does that push him more to a wing? Does that mean that he's still going to play inside mid? Remains to be seen. But if you're a Paddy Cripps owner or you're pretty bullish about him and you want to get him in after the bye because you do have, you want to do a luxury trade, or you've got a spot left, or you've got Nick Dacos in your midfield and you can send him to your back line and get an extra midfield there. Paddy Cripps could be your guy. Left field option, third easiest run home. He comes off the bye, nice little rest to go to Geelong and Richmond. Two very strong, favourable matchups right then and there. So those are your top three options when it comes to inside mid teams.
There you go. Now, a lot of us have already finished our rucks, but there are some sneaky people that maybe you've kind of gone across with Jordan Sweet. Maybe you've had Conway. I know some people have got Ned Moyle. There's one player here. I'm pretty sure he's got something like a 140 break even. Sorry, not 140 round 3 average. That's big TDK, Joe. He comes in at second. The second easiest run home for any ruckman. Pretty bonkers, mate.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And if it wasn't for Pitane existing in the side, he would be almost the most traded in player coming off of the bye for all those people who have got a cheap R2, Strawn, Moyle, Sweet, Conway, whichever one you've got. If you've got a free empty spot there next to Max Gawn, TDK could be your man as long as Vossi decides to persist with DeConning in the ruck and not bring back Shittinet into the team, then you could be onto an absolute winner. He comes off playing against Geelong and Richmond and the Giants. He's then got English, who can't win a hit out to save his life. So that's 4 pretty decent matchups in a row. We're not going to recommend for you to go and get Nan Curvis. All right, we're not going to. The stats might say something.
You can if you want to, but probably not the best idea.
Probably not the best idea to go and get Nan Curvis. Follow the stats with reason, but definitely of all the matchups still to come, the easiest one, Tom DeConning, followed by, we don't recommend getting any Geelong ruckman, Lloyd Meek, who has the 4th easiest matchup to come. He's come back from his syndesmosis. Are you willing to roll the dice with him and his fitness moving forward? That's up to you. But he does have the 4th easiest run home.
Yeah, maybe you're one of those people that kept him through the injury. You're upgrading the rest of the team, or as I said before, maybe you had a Luke Jackson or a Conway at R3 that was covering the position. Lloyd Meek, mate. The guy was 350k and he's gone bananas. Who has probably the worst matchup that we really need to consider getting rid of?
Look at last! Rowan stinking Marshmallow. We've got the worst run home for ruckman. You fraud. Get out of my face. You suck. You're hopeless. Get good. Can't believe you were in my team for a little while, but you were in it. Stuff you, never again. No one cares about the wing. We don't want wingers in our Supercoach team. Wingers outside of Errol Goulden, we don't like wingers. And I don't really want to say where you're going to find Errol Goulden. So let's just skip that part for now.
That's just who I brought into my team as well this week. So hopefully it doesn't burn me too much.
We then move to the general defenders. General defenders are a lot more worthwhile to have in your team because they're not wingers.
What's an example of a general defender? Do you have a player in mind that could be one of these players?
Yeah, so general defenders could be like your Witherden's, your Barasses, people who aren't necessarily going to be playing as a key position. They're more so your ground level type of players. And really aren't too many Supercoach relevant options for those.
Yes.
No one's playing Will Powell, for example. No one's playing. I mean, you could be playing Jaden Short, but he's more of a distributor. He's more of a designated kick. This ground level is like Nick Vlaston. No one's picking of Nick Vlaston type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the type of defender who does the nitty gritty, dirty work that doesn't get all of the nice, flashy Supercoach scoring. So for this, you're very limited in your options. Don't really recommend going down this pathway. If you do, the only ones worthwhile, in our opinion, is, of course, the West Coast Eagles one, who tend to have the best run home from here on out. And those are your Withertons and your Barasses. But even then, not people that we would be looking to get into the team. This is really only if you're really desperate, you can't afford anything else, and you're left in a pretty sticky situation. This is making the best of a sticky situation, essentially.
And you could probably keep someone like a Massimo as well, who I think would probably come into a little bit of this conversation. If you've got Massimo, mate, he's fourth on the list for general defenders. Hawthorn love distributing with him off halfback, have that kind of run type player. So potentially, maybe save yourself a trade there or have a nice DPP swing in the midfield.
Yep, exactly. We want to get to this. This is the juicy stuff. This is where
all your points are.
This is the degeneracy. This is what we love to see when it comes to Supercoach. It's absolutely zero reward for actual playtime, but it is the role that we love to see in Supercoach. Intercept marks, kickouts, cheap possessions, cheap marks. That's what we want to see. And the team with the best run home in that department is the Essendon Bombers, which has Jordan Ridley and Nick Martin. So all you Marto owners out there, rejoice. We've got a great run. He's got the best run for distributing halfbacks.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. If only he can keep up his disposal efficiency and learn how to kick in front of goal, we'll be all right. We already know how strong Ridley's been. Came off kind of injury and then popped out, what was it, a 160 or something stupid? And then 90 odd, and then he's come back with a 111. So 3-round average at bonkers numbers already. He does have the bye this week, so you can upgrade somewhere else if you want to and then bring him in. But Jordan Ridley looks pretty juicy, mate.
Mate, Jordan Ridley has not scored under 110, I think, this year. I think Jordan Ridley, he went something ridiculous. I think he went like 160.
And then, what did he score last week?
He scored, I think, a 112 against Carlton. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up now. I think he scored a 112 last week against Carlton, and I think it was a 111 the week before. That's exactly right. He went 162, 111, 112.
There you go. Done.
So he's been...
If you can hold out for a week, Ridley might be... I might have to change my trades this week, not go Houston. Get Ridley in next week just to be like, Ridley! Next up, if you don't want scummy Essendon players that are on their bye, you can go after North Melbourne. We've already had our bye. You don't need to worry. Yeah. We're looking at Sheasel. We're looking at McKercher. We're looking at Fisher. And the beautiful thing is, we can get Fisher in our forward line. He's a player that, yes, has had some hamstring concerns in the past, but if he's distributing off halfback, if he's fit, he's scoring big points, and we've seen it the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, the guy's an absolute lock in the top of the forward line. He is an absolute freak. When it comes to scoring, it's so shit. He's such a crap player, but he's taking advantage of the fact of the role that he plays for your team. McKercher is one I can't wait to trade back in, having traded out, to trade back in, to trade out, to trade back in again. So McKercher is a 1 week away, according to the updated injury list. When he does come back, he does play against Melbourne. Then he's got some decent runs. Sydney, he's not copping James Jordan. Someone else will, and he's going to pop off even more. So I'm really keen to get McKercher in when he comes back. So going to have Fisher, Sheasel, and McKercher, as well as the old man, Zorko, third on the list when it comes to distributing halfbacks. And he is also forward eligible. So this also increases the importance of having this flog in your forward line, because he has scored well, and he's going to continue scoring well.
Yeah. Now, take this list with a grain of salt, guys. These are the stats, but obviously players can get injured, players can get moved around, that kind of thing. hopefully, we're going to put the link of this down in the description so you guys can have a look at the stats that we are as well. But hopefully these players have kind of given you guys a few more pods, given you guys some different options and some outside things as well. You don't always have to go with the best decisions that everyone else is doing, but this is kind of where it's at with stats-wise, who's going to score the most over the next 10 weeks.
And on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this little public service announcement when it comes to the players that you have to finish off your team. Apply the finishing touches, as they might say. If you like what we had to say today, please drop us a like, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our videos and live streams live every Monday, 7:30, and Thursday at 5:30 for the drive home.
Guys, bit sad not having a Thursday game of football, but means that we can put out more content. So as Joe says, smash the buttons, check the links down below. We'll have all the information to the stats down there, because here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you guys don't have to. Bye for now.